Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we have a discussion video, and a discussion video that I feel is very important. We're going to be talking about dealing with loss and hype in the knife community, in the knife collecting hobby. And I think a lot of you know where this is going to go, because I feel like all of us, this isn't something that's unique to the knife collecting hobby, but we all see things that we want. And sometimes we just can't get them. And sometimes we follow hype trains, and those can lead to serious negative repercussions. So, let's get into this. The first thing I want to talk about is loss. So, there have been so many knives that I've seen that I have just wanted so bad, but I just didn't have the funds at the time. And, I could sell stuff off, which I do quite a bit, sell stuff off or trade stuff off, but, sometimes you don't get your funds together before the item is sold out, right? So what do you do? How do you handle this? I want to talk about one knife in particular right now, just to begin with. I want a hinderer. Really bad. Hinderer knives, they hit so many sweet spots for me. If you guys know the channel, you know that I like overbuilt, kind of robust knives. And so I've always wanted a hinderer, but it's just really, I don't have, $450 to drop on a knife. I really can't do that. And so, I've come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to be getting a hinderer anytime soon. The most expensive knife I own, which is a knife I had to save up quite a bit for and sell some stuff before I got, is this wee Mine Axe. This is a $260 knife. But anyways, hinderer. Always wanted a hinderer. Still do. But, I realized that it just wasn't going to happen. But then, one day I just happened to be on Blade HQ looking at knives, because we all do it. I was bored. I don't know, maybe I was in the bathroom or something. I don't know. Just flipping through my phone. And there had recently been a drop of Hinderer Jurassics. And the Hinderer Jurassic is a knife that I want very badly. As you can tell, I love dinosaur stuff. And I don't even have a dinosaur here from the Jurassic period. Here we go. Here's an Allosaurus. That's a Jurassic dinosaur. But, I'm also a fan of Jurassic Park. So the Jurassic has that appeal going, besides just being a hinderer and being overbuilt and looking very nice. I love the look of the Jurassic. But anyways, it has a lot going for it. It's one of my grail knives. And there had been this recent drop. And they'd all sold out really fast and everything, so I was like, oh, whatever. But I went looking just out of curiosity, and I found that there was a version left. They still had one in stock, or there's a couple, but the one that I saw, it was a stonewash blade, which I love stonewashes. It had a blue titanium frame. I love blue. I love blue knives. And it had a tan G10 scale. I could dye tan G10 any shade of blue that I want. I could modify that scale to no end. And plus, hinderers have so many parts available. But, if you don't want to spend money, I could dye that. If I didn't want to spend any money on another scale, which, I could dye that. It was literally perfect. Everything I would have wanted in a hinderer knife. It was perfect. It was to the money. I'm not sure what I'm just saying right now. It was everything I wanted. Gosh, I'm an idiot. But I didn't have $450 to drop on it. I just didn't. And so I remember closing Blade HQ, and I went and I did something else. I came back about 2 hours later and they were sold out. And I remember feeling so disappointed. I was like, oh, that was my hinderer. And, you know, I just felt like I'd missed out. And then as I started thinking about it more, I was like, but you know what? If I had never found that knife was still available, I wouldn't be missing it. I really wouldn't. And so that's what kind of gave me the idea for this video. And this happened months ago. But how do you because again, we've all felt it. So what are the coping mechanisms for that kind of loss? And I feel silly talking about this because it's like, oh, wow, loss. But come on, guys, it's a hobby. We're going to have some fun with these discussions. Which, if I haven't said already, feel free to chime in the description. Or in the comments. I do the description, not you guys. Jeez. But anyways, what I started thinking was, okay, number one, I shouldn't feel bad about missing out on anything because I just did not have the money then and there. So I couldn't really have done anything anyways. Two, there will be another chance. There will be another chance. And three, again, if I hadn't have seen it, I would never have known about it. I would never have had anything to miss. So let's talk about second chances at getting stuff. When the Spyderco Pm2 Tanto from Blade HQ, I remember when I was first getting into the knife collecting hobby real seriously, Blade HQ did a run of the Pm2 Tantos. And, I was starting to get into knife stuff on Instagram, and I hadn't really used Instagram for much before that, honestly. But I'm following all these knife pages on Instagram, and I see that Blade HQ's coming out with the Pm2 Tanto. And I was like, oh, I want that. And I fell in love instantly. But, again, just didn't have funds available when they dropped, and they all sold out. I just remember being pretty disappointed. I was like, Well, then, just a few months ago, Blade HQ did another run, and I was able to snag one. I had the money at the time. I was able to snag one. And I'm glad I did, because I do like this knife quite a bit. In fact, I'm probably going to be doing modifications on this guy, taking off these scales, putting on something from Titanium. I haven't decided which yet. I haven't decided what yet. Gosh, I just can't speak, can I? But yeah. So there's definitely other opportunities to get things. The next thing I want to talk about is, should you settle for a version of a knife that doesn't really suit you? For example, a knife comes out in several different flavors, and you know the flavor you want, but it sells out. And then the flavor that's left is one that you don't really like. Should you still go for it? Well, if it's a hinderer, yes, because you can modify it. You have so many aftermarket parts, you can make it your flavor. Here's the next knife I want to talk about. Dimco 80-20.5. I love Andrew Dimco designs. I mean, I cannot think of a time when an Andrew Dimco, design knife is not a few inches away from me. You have this guy here, and then we have the Cold Steel Mini Tack that I've been doing some stuff with recently. Love Andrew Dimco's designs. One of my favorite knives ever is a Cold Steel 80-15. I have two of those, plus an 80-15 Light. I'm addicted to Andrew Dimco's designs. So the 80-20 comes out, and I'm like, oh, I want to get my hands on that Shark Lock. But, it's a semi-custom what's the term I'm looking for? I'm really drawing a blank. You guys know what I mean. The word will come back to me here in a little bit. $400+ I couldn't do that. I could not buy that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to accept that. And honestly, I was like, you know what? Maybe instead of getting a hinderer, I'll save up money one day and I'll get a Dimco 80-20. And then the 80-20.5 was announced. And I was like, yes! Finally I can get my hands on one. And they had a couple different versions. They had the shark's foot blade. They had the clip point blade. I'm a clip point guy. I want the clip point blade. They sold out really fast before I could even get my hands on them. but I did find some in stock. Shaboom. Ended up with the fully serrated shark's foot blade. So is this the particular version of this knife that I wanted? No, it's not. In fact, for a little bit, I figured, when I saw these in stock, I almost didn't get them. I almost didn't get one. But I did because I really wanted to try out this Shark Lock. Oh man, yeah, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that, because I did. I want to try out the Shark's Lock, and you know what? Here it is. And so I got it. And, fully serrated is not what I would usually go for, but it got here. And I was like, yeah, I just got it for the lock. But I've actually enjoyed this quite a bit. It's definitely something new, definitely something different. And I have some videos planned with this guy, but I'm glad I went ahead and got it. This thing is just a beast utility cutting. They give you enough here that you can just utility cut all day long. But one day, I will definitely be getting one of the clip point versions. Whoops. Let's see if I can do it lefty. Ah, come on, get in. Wow, I'm just not in it today, am I? There we go. But yeah. So I ended up being able to get my hands on a knife that I was drooling over. The Demco 8020.5. Not exactly in the form or function that I imagined, but I got my hands on one, and I'm glad that I went ahead and did that, because I do think it was worth it. So, yeah. Yeah, there we go. Next thing I want to talk about is, again, we already talked about this a little bit with the PM2. This is special run knives. You never know when they're going to be coming back or not. So it's kind of taking a chance. And you can go and hunt them down on the secondary market, but, whatever. So this knife here is one that took me a while to track down. This is a full production knife from Tucson, but it just took me a little bit to find one because they kept disappearing. Tucson doesn't really do too very big stock. Sorry, I just got to clean off some smuts. But you know what? Hunting things down is really, really fun. And not on the secondary market necessarily, but just, looking at different retailers, tracking stuff down, it can be pretty fun. And so, there's a little bit of satisfaction when a knife is eluding you, and then you finally capture it, and you get it, you open it, and you're like, ha, yeah, SOB, I gotcha. Well, and then in the case of this knife, this SOB got me. This is the knife that cut me real bad. I still have a scar from you. That's okay, we're still friends. But speaking of aftermarket stuff, I want to talk about another knife. The Bestech Togruta. And we'll bring in a stand-in. Here's the Bestech Horus. The Bestech Togruta. It was released early 2021 or mid-2021. I can't remember. I'm not even sure when this video will come out. Probably sometime November, December. I don't know. Anyways, I really like the look of that knife. And I love Bestech knives. If you guys... I love Bestech knives. And so I was really excited to see the Togruta. I wanted to get one. But they sold out pretty quick. I just didn't have enough money. It was a pretty expensive knife. And from what I hear, that was a limited run. I don't know if Bestech is going to do those again. And so that's kind of disappointing. And so now I have two options. Either suck it up and, I just don't get to, I missed out on that knife. Or I can go and hunt one down on the secondary market. And for me personally, hunting things down on the secondary market is a little hit or miss. Mostly I've only bought secondhand budget knives. I've traded for a few more higher end knives, but those usually end up getting sold away. But sometimes, especially limited edition knives, or Spyderco sprint runs, or discontinued knives, get really expensive on secondary markets. So that's one of those things where, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? And for me, at least, I'm not going to be trying to hunt down the Togruta on the secondary market anytime soon, because it's a really cool knife. I really do want to handle one, but I don't necessarily need it. I don't need to, so there we go. And let's talk about knives being discontinued. So this is the Civivi Statira. Love this knife. Mine, as you can see, looks a little different. I dyed it blue, like a dark navy blue. Yeah, looks good. This knife's been discontinued from Civivi, which is a shame because it's one of the best things Civivi's ever made. And it's discontinued. So this is where we're going to kind of go into that overlap between loss and hype. Don't worry, we're getting to the hype conversation. These are getting a little bit harder to find. When these were first discontinued, I actually bought one and gave it to Austin. And now that it's discontinued, you know, I feel sad. I'm like, oh my gosh, people can't get this great knife, but at least I have one, right? And then this knife probably, you know, I haven't checked to see if these are popping up on secondary market for outrageous prices. I don't imagine they would be. Not yet, at least. But I do want to talk about another knife that's a Civivi, ironically, that's been discontinued. The Mckenna. Now, this is a knife I never thought Civivi would discontinue. It's a knife that I like a lot. And when I heard that Civivi discontinued it, my very first impulse was, oh my gosh, I need to go and buy another. And then I slowed down. I was like, I mean, do I, though? I already have one that I like a lot. And this was making me very happy before I learned that they're discontinued. I didn't feel like I needed another one. So do I? And I decided that no, I don't. So I'm not going to get one. But things being discontinued causes you to panic and want to get one, you know? And so my advice is don't. Unless you don't already have one, is what I'm going to say. For example, Best Tech Line was a knife that I always wanted, but, you know, I just kind of never got around to it. Then I heard that Best Tech was discontinuing these. It's like, okay, I gotta get one. So I went and I got one, and I'm glad I did. And these are still pretty available. I mean, they are discontinued, but a lot of retailers still have stock of these at the same price that they were when they were in production or on discount. And so I would definitely recommend going and getting one or two if you want, because yeah, you know, it is a good knife, and I'm glad I picked mine up. Oh, such a good knife. He's going in my pocket right now. I brought him out for this video, but no, now he's going in my pocket. There we go. One more knife I want to talk about before we go completely into the hype, because this has a little bit to do with hype. The CJRB Scoria. This was a knife that when CJRB first showed images of it on their Instagram, I was like, yes, I have to have one. Especially since, you know, Scoria, it's got the rock or the geology theme going. I'm a geology student. I love rocks. I wanted this. Plus, I think it just looks really nice. And so the first two versions that were released were an all blackout blade with a black G10 handle, and then the black blade with the coral micarta. And I thought both of those looked really good, but you know, at the time I didn't really have money again to really go and drop on a knife. I was paying off some stuff. My truck had to be repaired and everything. And, you know, I just didn't get around to it. And then people were talking about how good this was, and I was feeling like I was really missing out. But, you know, I was feeling that urgency to get one, especially since I'm a knife reviewer. You know, I feel like I want to get these things to review and show off on my channel. And then I had the money to go, and I was going to go and buy the Coral Micarta one when Knife Center released their exclusives. And I was like, okay, yep, cancel that. I'm getting a blue denim micarta version. So see, good things come to those who wait. So now let's talk about hype. Knives that get hyped up. So this was a knife that had a lot of hype around it that I 100% bought into. This knife had a lot of hype, at least for me. I remember Jared at Neves Knives talking about this, showing this off. Stasa 23 had it, and this is completely my style. Clip point blade, chrome fiber, micarta. This is 100% my style of knife. Had to get that one. But also, I'm a reviewer. I know I'm not big time or anything, but I'm trying. I enjoy doing this. I do this because it's fun. However, as a reviewer, sometimes I feel like there's things that I have to look at. I have to review, to get some good views, to get some subscribers. Because, come on, I know I'm doing this for the hobby, but I also, I like kind of building a community. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Wink, wink. So let's talk about some knives that I got just because of hype. The Civivi bow. If you guys have seen my review of this or watched really any Civivi video I've done, I've talked about this in most Civivi videos I've made recently. So I got this knife because I heard quite a lot of people talking about it. I heard it being hyped up. I guess Brad Zinger design from Civivi, and I wanted to get it and review it. Plus, it had this blue marbled carbon fiber. Blue. You can barely see any blue in there. And I hated this knife. I felt like it was overpriced. The performance wasn't there. It had so many issues. Yeah. And then the thing is, well, why didn't you sell it? Well, because I screwed it up. I don't want to sell a knife like this to someone. As you can see, it rusted. I don't like selling people rusty knives. And yes, that is rust. I did try and clean it off, but that's what is... that's what remained. Plus, I messed up the finish really bad. As you can see there. Stonewash, gosh, I hate Civivi Stonewash. If you guys don't know, I just hate Civivi Stonewash. I don't think it's a good stonewash. Or at least the stonewash they've been using on this. Stonewash on Mastodon's good. Anyways, getting off track. I did not like this knife at all. But I got it because of hype, and I really regretted it. A lot. And that clip is horrible. Another knife that I got because of hype, which ironically is another Civivi. The Civivi Imperium. I heard so many people talking this knife up, and I wanted to get one. And I got one, and it's a good knife. I do like it. However, here's the thing. When I found out that it was in Nitro V steel, or Damascus, you can get it in Damascus too, I almost didn't get it because the experience with Nitro V that I had on the bow, it rusting, the edge retention was terrible, it sharpened really bad. I just didn't want any of that. But I got one because gotta review it. And, I like this knife a lot better than the bow. And I did have some fun with it. I got the JG10 version, so I was able to dye it and stuff. And that's the reason I kept it, was just because it became a project knife. And I had fun making what has become known on my Instagram as the popsicle knife. I had fun with that. And so I kept it around for that. But this was definitely a hype purchase. Now, I have not made any expensive hype purchases because, again, if I'm going to buy an expensive knife, I have to save for quite a bit. I have to sell some stuff. Getting more pricey knives just doesn't happen very much for me on this channel. So I haven't done any impulse hype buys in that way, but I would highly caution against it because I don't think it goes anywhere. In a lot of ways, I feel like the overhypedness, the overhypiness, the overhyperness. Anyways, the overhype conversation is kind of the other side of the coin from the dealing with loss conversation, where most of the time when you see a knife that you want to save up for, I mean, obviously it's got a little bit of hype in it, you know other people like it, but like for me in the case of the Hinder Jurassic, it has a lot of personal connection. It has a lot of that emotional response. You know, the Jurassic is dinosaur themed. It's a Hinderer, you know, overbuilt. It's a lot of what I want in a knife, and so it is something that I really want to save up for. But then when something is overhyped, when something is super hyped, and you buy it, and it's not what you want it to be, you feel really disappointed. And of course you can turn it around and sell it, or you can, you know, do something interesting with it, or just mess it up and have it be part of your collection forever. But, you know, they're both flip sides of the same coin. And in a lot of ways, I feel like the loss part of it is a lot easier to deal with because stuff can come back. Or, you know, if it's really that important to you, you can't track it down on the secondary market. However, again, some things are totally worth the hype. Yeah, the Shark Lock. 100% worth the hype. 100%. So, yeah, I just want to talk about this real quick because, I don't know, it's been on my mind for some reason. I've just been thinking about it a lot. This knife got me thinking about it. You know, this knife's had me thinking about it, thinking about that Jurassic. There are definitely things out there that I want, but have come to terms with not having. You know, for example, what's something I'm thinking of? The Wii Chimera. For a long time, like when I was first getting in the hobby, I was drooling over the Wii Chimera. And at this point, I've kind of moved on, like, you know, whatever. I mean, it's kind of cool, but I don't really want one anymore. And then there's stuff like the Hinder Jurassic, where I'm like, okay, yes, I will own one of those one day, but not right now. And then there are definitely times where I have to slow myself down when I hear good things about a knife, and I have to be like, okay, just slow down, pump the brakes, wait a little bit. So, anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Just a little quick discussion. I hope you guys had fun. I really want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.